What is up, guys? Vince the Prince here again for another NSP Power Ranking video. This is week 4, y'all. It kind of feels like these weeks are coming and going pretty quickly, and that's the only thing I don't like about this. But obviously, I love doing Power Rankings videos. I love watching football every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. Sometimes Saturday and Friday. There's a few games there too. But obviously, this is the bread and butter for me. I love doing these videos. Love some of the feedback that I get from people that watch them. So go ahead and put a comment down in the description below and join the Discord too to let me know how these videos are for you and what you would like to see. So obviously, we will be putting the grading criteria right here. We still look at offensive grading, defensive grading, points allowed, scored, offensive efficiency, same for defense, strength of defense, and offensive matchup. So obviously it was another wild week. A lot of special teams changes here, winning the game, losing the game for some teams. So in the top 10, you will see some of those teams who were the benefactors and the non-benefactors of those plays. So it was a great one, and let's get right into it. So at number 1, I have the Buffalo Bills still. They just haven't lost, right? A team in the NFL that is 3-0, looking good, never really faltered. Week 1 is probably their game that was, not as solidified. But in the past 3 weeks, since that time frame, they've looked like one of the best teams in the NFL, both offensively and defensively. Obviously, there are teams that have a better defensive rating than these Buffalo Bills do, just because of type of players. But the Buffalo Bills still get there. They get sacks, they get pressures, they get batted balls and interceptions and all that jazz, right? Just like you want your defense to. But the offense moves on all cylinders, and it's not the same person every single time. Besides Josh Allen, Josh Allen can do it on the ground. He can do it in the air. Keon Coleman is there. Kincaid is there. Obviously, a few other guys like Khalil Shakir. Obviously, Cook. He shows up pretty often and he does well. So the Bills just look good. They had the good win against the Miami Dolphins that kind of came out of the woodworks and finally looked like a better team. I think that's just because the Bills defense was not running on all cylinders, and maybe the Miami Dolphins are finally getting it figured out. But next week they will go up against the Saints. I think this should be an easy win. I'd be very surprised if anything happens. You'll see about that other team that happened. But I don't think the Bills will go down. They have a great offense. They have good defense, in my opinion, and I think they should stay at number 1 unless something totally goes wrong. But let me know down in the comments, do you think they should be number 1 or do you think it should be somebody else? At number 2, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. They did it again. I mean, escaping a near loss, playing very well. The Los Angeles Rams looked like they had this one in the bag to start the second half, as well as going into that fourth quarter. But the Eagles turned it around. They finally got the ball to A.J. Brown. Goddard looked good throughout the game. A few catches here and there. Devontae Smith started to appreciate some targets and catches there as well. So obviously, Saquon is Saquon. He's continuing to do his thing. Jalen Hurts looks a little bit better now in the pass game. So that's what you want, right? But special teams. The Eagles' special teams sealed this one because I do think Cardi from the kicker from LA was going to make that field goal if it was not blocked. So we would probably be looking at the Philadelphia Eagles in a lower aspect of the second rank here, probably around 5 or 6. I don't know. Didn't happen in this universe. So they're 3-0. Thanks to the Georgia Bulldog. Can't remember his name, but big defensive lineman. Stuffed it up on the field goal attempt there and blocked it, returned it for a touchdown. So that is why the Philadelphia Eagles are here. Should have been a 27-26 victory, but with the last second touchdown, they won 33-26. Next week, they have another tough matchup. It seems like the Eagles are just going to continue to have tough matchups for a little bit, but they play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Another offense that is highly ranked, obviously losing Mike Evans this week. So this one could be a more interesting game that Philadelphia might take home and run away with if the Buccaneers don't know what they're doing. But at this point in time, I think this will be a great game. I will be watching this one at the 12 o'clock window. Let me know, guys. Do you think the Eagles deserve to be number 2, or do you think they lose this week? At number 3, I have the Detroit Lions. They played well. Obviously, a tough matchup here, and they were projected to lose by quite a bit of points, actually. Almost 6.5 is what Baltimore was favored by. I mean, not too bad. Obviously, on the screen here, you see 4.5, but on some other betting apps, it was about 6.5. So pretty crazy. But yeah, Baltimore just couldn't get it done. Detroit's defense came alive in the fourth quarter. Hutchinson looked a little quiet all game, but he finally came to play. Detroit offense is looking good. It looks like they're getting back to form. Obviously, we have St. Brown looking well. We have Gibbs looking well. Montgomery went out and did a few little spurts there, 70-yard run, a touchdown run, angry runs here and there. So it's looking great, guys. Obviously, there are some other guys like Williams who did not have the best of games, but usually he does and helps this team win. So they have a lot of weapons. I think it's great. But I just don't think they are at that 1 or 2 spot at this point in time. A good victory against a tough opponent. They should have an easier one going forward as they're 2-1. Sorry for the graphic there. It says 1-1 for the Detroit Lions, but they are 2-1 going against the 1-2 Cleveland Browns. I think this one should be fun. Cleveland just beat the Packers. Sorry, Reed. It happens. Obviously, special teams, that was another game where special teams ruined something for one of the great teams. But I think Detroit in Detroit, they're in Ford Stadium. Obviously, it should be a good one. I think Detroit should walk out of this one, but don't sleep on Cleveland in that defense. They have some tricks up their sleeve, and I definitely think this is one to watch. But what do you think, guys? Do you think the Lions will win this week? Let me know. At number 4, I have the Los Angeles Chargers. Yes, I do. They have won 3 in a row, another team that's 3-0, and they've even beat every single divisional team already after week 3. That is insane. Can't remember the last time that a team goes up against all their 3 divisional rivals back to back to back within the first 3 weeks of the season. But LA did it. They've beaten all of them. This was a tough win for them, but it was a great one, and it's a statement there because now they are on top of the world in that division. And even if they find themselves, having a few losses here or there, they still have those tiebreakers, and that is going to benefit them in the long run. As long as they can stay healthy, keep that aerial attack as well as some of the running attack now for Hampton, who looked good this week, I think the Chargers are primed and ready to make possibly a deep playoff run if they can get it all together by the end of the season. So obviously, tough win against Denver here. Denver looked okay. Sutton was out there, but Los Angeles and the defense held up just enough, got pressure there on Bo Nix, and, stuffed them up. And so now LA is 3-0. They go into New York, and they face the 0-3 Giants. So I think this should be an easy win for them in the 12 o'clock slate on Sunday, but you just never know. They are already favored, as you can see here, by 5.5, so they have to win by 6 in order to cover that. But I think this should be fairly easy for them, in my opinion. Like I said, they look like a great team offensively. They are pretty healthy. Keenan Allen, Johnston, as well as LADD McConkey, which is the wide receiver 3 now, guys, if you haven't known. So you might not want to put him in on your starting lineup unless you have no other option. He is the 3rd option there, and sometimes not even the 3rd option. Maybe Hampton is the 3rd option. So LADD McConkey is just not benefiting from this, obviously, but he is a vital part of that offense. So when those other 2 guys are not open, I'm pretty sure that Herbert's going to get him the ball. But this should be a good game. Should be a good fantasy game for the Chargers in the first half. They might be just killing the New York Giants, and maybe don't even play their guys in the fourth quarter, kind of like the Seahawks did. But there you go, guys. Chargers at 4. Do they deserve to be here? Let me know. At 5, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And again, another tough win for another team. Obviously, I thought this one could have been a little bit of a better win, right? But Tampa Bay, fought hard. They got there. Obviously, the injury to Mike Evans is now out there. Bucky Irving looked pretty good, running against a tougher defensive line, I guess you can say, as well as the linebacker core there. But obviously, this team is hopefully going to be getting healthier within the next week or so. Godwin has the chance and opportunity to possibly be a healthy start this week. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a big ramp up period, but Egbuka, guys, Emeka Egbuka is still alive and pumping. I think, even though he's been dealing with his own injuries to that groin and hamstring area as well, he's going to play. There's no way they're not going to let him. He looked pretty good out there, and he's healthier than everybody else. But obviously, Baker Mayfield looks great. I think this is good for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So obviously, they go into this next week playing the Eagles. I already talked about the Eagles earlier in this video and about a little bit about this game, but there is a chance in Tampa Bay, down in the heat, still a little hot now in late September. Maybe the Eagles falter. I don't know. We've seen them play a little bit dysfunctional, but they still come out with a dub. But we haven't really seen Tampa Bay play too dysfunctional, but they are the kings as well of comeback wins. I've already done it twice this year. Philadelphia's done it once. I think we're going to be seeing a really good matchup here, and hopefully one that goes down to the wire in the 12 o'clock slate. So make sure you're watching the Witching Hour with Hanson. Obviously, I think this game will be there and be highlighted. Here at number 6, here it is, Reed, the Packers. They've dropped 3 spots for me. Obviously, we've already talked a little bit about the loss to Cleveland with the blocked field goal and Cleveland taking it home. So what happened? Obviously, defensively, the Packers still played well. I can't say that they didn't. Obviously, faltered a little bit at the end there, giving up the field goal for the dub to the Cleveland Browns. But they just couldn't stop the run. And I think that's what kind of happened there. Obviously, Quinshon Judkins looked great, almost 100 yards against the Green Bay Packers when the Packers haven't even allowed, 60 yards to the combined running backs that are starting for the week 1 and week 2 matchups. But Cleveland just turned it around. Joe Flacco didn't look all that great. The receivers didn't look all that great. Fannin wasn't there, and Njoku wasn't there. Judy wasn't there, but Quinshon was. And this team did just enough on the defensive side. Obviously, Myles Garrett was a factor, as well as a couple of other players on the defensive side. So Green Bay just did not look offensively like they should have, in my opinion. They dropped the ball literally and figuratively. But I guess there's one thing that's a highlight there, and that's Matthew Golden. He looked a little bit better. So obviously getting him integrated into the offense is why this team is still a top 10 team, in my opinion, and didn't fall dramatically out like in some other PFF gradings for defense and all that. Green Bay goes against Dallas next. I think this is the chance to really put your foot on the pedal, get everything back into rhythm, and show the NFL why the Packers are still a Super Bowl contender and not just a Super Bowl pretender already in week 3. Obviously, I still think the Packers are a great team, and Sunday night, we're probably going to see that. I don't think Dallas has the defense to hold up against Green Bay as long as they're clicking a little bit, and obviously, I don't think the Dallas offense will run all over the Green Bay Packers. So let me know, guys, do you think the Packers should have fallen out of the top 10, or do you think they're just right? Here at number 7, I have the Baltimore Ravens. Again, a tough loss, but they really looked dysfunctional against a good defense, in my opinion. And that's what you don't want to see from the Ravens, especially where they were at in week 3. As you guys can see earlier in this video, they were at number 2 overall in week 3. Now they're at number 7. So what happened? Lamar Jackson tried to work his magic. The offensive line couldn't really hold up, but the defense of the Detroit Lions was just impeccable. Shoelace tackles everywhere, a whole bunch of sacks and loss of yards and tackles behind the yard of scrimmage. It is what it is. Derrick Henry looked bad. He had a fumble that also caused them to lose. Lamar Jackson getting sacked, couldn't work his magic, couldn't get the ball out as accurate in all those plays that he needed to. Zay Flowers was covered up. Bateman looked good. So did Mark Andrews. Oh my goodness. A revival game. If he's on your waivers, make sure you pick him up if you haven't already. But obviously, just not as good all around on the offensive side, especially not on the defensive side. They really look silly. I see a lot of Baltimore Ravens fans, calling for Patrick Queen's head basically and saying that he just needs to be kicked off the team. You know what? I invite it. Send him to the Seahawks, baby. Send him to our squad. Rekindle him with McDonald. I love it. But for the Ravens, I don't. They have Kansas City next, and we know what happened last year in week 1 when they played Kansas City. It was a great game. And I think right now Kansas City is getting into a little bit of a groove, as we saw last week, and they could possibly make some noise. But, as we can see, Kansas City is 1-2. Sorry, again, not updated here, but Baltimore is now 1-2. So the battle of the 1-2 teams that should be maybe 2-1 or 3-0 at this point in time, but they just couldn't get there. So I think this should be another good one at the 325 slate, and make sure you watch it. But let me know, guys, do you think the Ravens go 1-3, or do you think they even it up and go 2-2? At number 8, I have the San Francisco 49ers, dropping one spot even though they got the victory. Obviously, this team is injured, but once they come back, I still have them here in the top 10, and I think they'll stay here throughout the season as they are 3-0. So obviously, it's deserving to be in the top 10 for the 49ers. They are a great team. They continue to follow Shanahan's lead and just come out with a victory, right? So even Mac Jones here, driving down in the fourth quarter, time is as of essence, and he's getting there. He's getting the ball to the guys that he needs to. Obviously, McCaffrey carries the weight. Kittle is going to come back soon, hopefully, for my fantasy. And so this team is going to just continue to look a lot better. The only thing that I hate to see, and yes, as a Seahawks fan, I hate to see this because as I said, I always want to see the 49ers at their best, so that way when the Seahawks do beat them, there's no excuse. But Nick Bosa, torn ACL, I believe, out for the season, won't be back until early mini camp and training for next year. So sad to see it. Nick Bosa is a force in this league. Obviously, he's the one that, got to Sam Darnold and, didn't let us get the win. So good job for Nick Bosa, but now he's injured and it's sad to see. But San Francisco will face the Jacksonville Jaguars next. They have had great success against Jacksonville for a long time, and I think it should continue as long as this team can get a little bit healthier. I know Jawan Jennings is still dealing with injuries. Obviously, Pearsall is doing great. A bunch of rookies and a bunch of young guys are just stepping up into the framework here and helping the 49ers keep winning. Their defense looks still great. Offense is, continuing to sputter a little bit, but plays well. So I do think San Francisco should win here. I'd be pretty surprised if they lost, but leave it to Jacksonville to kind of make some noise there in the city of gold. So what do you think, guys? 49ers deserve to be here. Are they going to look better when they're healthy? Let me know. At number 9, I have the Washington Commanders. A good win, but with Mariota. So it was pretty cool to see the Oregon faithful, the Oregon legend back out there, but now on the other side, on the East Coast now. So it's cool to see, right? Obviously, they beat the Doonies out of Las Vegas. Don't let the score fool you. Geno Smith was scrambling out there to get points late in the game. So I felt like Washington's defense played very well. I think they are the unsung heroes here because basically if Geno Smith didn't score at the end there, it would have been 41-14 or something around there. So I think that this defense played great. I also think the offense played great. Obviously, Zach Ertz didn't get as many points as he needed to, but the run game looked pretty well. The pass game looked very well, in my opinion. And obviously, like I said, the defense played well. That's why they crept back up one spot here. Didn't get kicked out of the top 10 like I anticipated them to a little bit. Even if they won, there was a chance that they crept out just because other teams looked better. But at this point in time, they'll go against Atlanta. They just had a stinker of a game. Atlanta is going to be the home team, and I think they're going to want to make a statement. Washington, if Jaden Daniels is not back, should be all right. But if he is, they really need to make a statement there because they need to look good with Mariota, but they especially need to look even better with Jaden Daniels. This team is a good team, getting younger with some older guys in there for veterans, but still looking good in my opinion. So this should be another good game at the 12 o'clock slate. I think I'm going to be very, very back and forth with Red Zone and all these games going on, especially for fantasy purposes, but just to watch all these great games in my opinion. But what do you think, guys? Do the Commanders deserve to be in the top 10, or are they pretenders this year? And last but not least, yes, the Seahawks. They're finally back. And this is as non-biased as I can get. We just destroyed the Saints, obviously, 44-13. I totally believed in them, and so did a lot of analysts. Finally, I think this was the first time in like 5 or 6 years that we've had every single analyst before the game say that we were going to win the game. We just look good. Obviously, not against a very good team in the NFL right now, one of the bottom 5, if not the worst for everybody, especially me. They are at the bottom of my power rankings, 0-3. Now the Seahawks are 2-1, only losses to a last-second loss there to the 49ers. I think we're doing pretty good. I think the defense continues to get better. We are a top 5 defense. We are apparently a top 5 offense as well. JSN looks great, even with the flu. He still played awesome. Cooper Kupp is in there. Obviously, some of our younger tight ends, Barnett is in there. The running game looked pretty decent with Kenneth Walker. It could look a little bit better. So I wish that we can get better there too. But the offensive line is helping out. Sam Darnold has a lot of time. He's also making great elusive moves, which I did not expect too much from him, but he's doing well. Defensively, oh my goodness. Brian Murphy, he looks amazing. I love it. I can't. He's like the number 1 defensive lineman, in my opinion, at this point in time, and according to stats. He's first in so many things like pressures, tackles behind the line of scrimmage, just everything. So it's amazing to see one of our younger guys in his second year kind of develop and play well. I won't bore y'all too much because this is not Seahawks talk, but I wish it was. But we're going to go against the Cardinals, and I think this defense is continuing to look great. And I think they will continue to show why we should be a top 5, especially a top 10, obviously, unless something totally goes wrong. But that's because we have a lot of injuries in the cornerback room, the safety room. Julian Love was not there. Witherspoon isn't there. Eamon Worry isn't there. We're going with guys like Kendrick and obviously Josh Jobe. He's just amazing. He's the number 1 cornerback in the league at this point in time through all the stats. It's a 0 passer rating and is the only guy out there that's doing that this year. So I love what I'm seeing, and I will love to continue to see it. So hopefully the Seahawks continue to win against Arizona this week. Should be a tough game in my opinion. It is in the desert. It's Thursday night tonight. So make sure you watch the game and root the Seahawks on. But anyways, guys, that is the top 10. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Who deserves to be there? Who doesn't deserve to be there? If you could pick one team that just will not make it this year, who's the pretender, put it down in the comments, and I will take it into consideration. But here is the other rankings, 11 through 20. As you can see, a lot of teams are rising like the Colts. So do the Colts actually make it into the top 10 next week if they continue to win? We'll see this week. It should be a very interesting one again, as it has been all year. Here is 21 through 32. Again, guys, who should be here, who shouldn't be here, and who is going to be last place the entire year? Is it the Saints? Is it the Cowboys? Is it the Jets or Patriots or Browns? Let me know down in the comments. But again, guys, leave down a comment, leave a like. Make sure you subscribe if you're loving the content that NSP is getting out here with. Obviously, we love making these videos, but we also love your support. So make sure you join the Discord down below. And again, as we always say, keep on